नमस्कार दोस्तों, कैसे हैं आप लोग। आशा करता हूँ आप लोग बहुत मज़े से होंगे और हेल्दी होंगे और फिट होंगे। दोस्तों, आज हम लोग करने आ रहे हैं क्लास 7th एनसीईआरटी की रीडिंग, चैप्टर नंबर 5 हिस्ट्री की। ठीक है। दो बात पहले आपको बता दूं कि मैं केवल आपके लिए रीडिंग करता हूं और ना ही आपको नोट्स लिखवाता हूं और ना ही आपको ये चैप्टर समझाता हूं। दोस्तों, रीडिंग करना बहुत ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है। मैं आपको एक सिंपल बात बताता हूँ, अगर आप एक चीज़ को 5 बार रीडिंग कर लेंगे ना, ठीक है, 5 बार या तो रीडिंग कर लीजिए या तो उसको रीडिंग किसी का करते हुए सुन लीजिएगा ना, तो आपको क्या होगा, वो चीज़ें समझ में आने लगेंगी और वो चीज़ ज़्यादा डीपली समझ में आती हैं। ठीक है, तो आपको समझना पड़ेगा दोस्तों। ठीक है, चलिए, तो बिना किसी देर के हम लोग शुरू करते हैं। फिगर 1 शोज द रूलर्स एंड बिल्डिंग्स, चैप्टर नंबर 5 हिस्ट्री, क्लास 7th एनसीईआरटी। Figure 1 shows the first balcony of the Qutub Minar. Qutbuddin Aibak had this constructed around 1199. Notice the pattern created under the balcony by the small arches and geometrical designs. Can you see the two bands of inscriptions under the balcony? These are in Arabic. Notice that the surface of the minar is curved and angular. Placing an inscription on such a surface required great precision. Only the most skilled craftsperson could perform this task. Remember that very few buildings were made of stone or brick 800 years ago. What would have been the impact of a building like the Qutub Minar on observers in the 13th century? तो इसी फिगर के बारे में बोल रखा है दोस्तों, कुतुब मीनार के बारे में। ठीक है, फिगर 1, द कुतुब मीनार इज 5 stories हाई. The band of inscriptions you see are under its first balcony. The first floor was constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak and the rest by Iltutmish around 1229 AD. 1229. Over the years, it was damaged by lightning and earthquakes and repaired by Alauddin Khilji, Muhammad Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq and Ibrahim Lodi. इन लोगों के द्वारा कंजर्व किया गया था इसको। बिटवीन द 8th and 18th centuries, तो दोस्तों आप लोग समझ सकते हैं फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ में इसी पिक्चर के बारे में डिटेल में दिया गया था। बिटवीन द 8th and the 18th centuries, kings and their officers built two kinds of structures. The first were forts, palaces, garden residences and tombs, safe, protected and grandiose places of rest in this world. And the second were structures meant for public activity including temples, mosques, tanks, wells, caravanserais. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Caravanserais and bazaars. Kings were expected to care for their subjects, and by making structures for their use and comfort, rulers hoped to win their praise. Construction activity was also carried out by others, including merchants. They built temples, mosques, and wells. However, domestic architecture, large mansions, havelis of merchants, has survived only from the 18th century. Labor for the Agra fort. Built by Akbar, the Agra fort required 2000 stone cutters, 2000 cement and lime makers, and 8000 laborers. सोच सकते हैं दोस्तों, इतना बड़ा लगा था उनको, इतने बड़े संख्या के लोगों की आबादी लगी थी उनको। हाँ, चलो, इतने बड़े संख्या की लोग लगे थे उनको। चलो देखते हैं आगे। इंजीनियरिंग स्किल्स एंड कंस्ट्रक्शन. Monuments provide an insight to the technologies used for construction. Taking something like a roof, for example, we can make this by placing wooden beams or a slab of stone across 4 walls. But the task becomes difficult if we want to make a large room with an elaborate superstructure. This requires more sophisticated skills. Superstructure क्या होता है दोस्तों? The part of a building above the ground floor. Between the 7th and 10th centuries, architects started adding more rooms, doors and windows to buildings. Roofs, doors and windows were still made by placing a horizontal beam across two vertical columns, a style of architecture called Trebuchet or corbelled. Between the 8th and the 13th centuries, the Trebuchet style was used in the construction of temples, mosques, tombs, and in buildings attached to large stepped wells, baulis. 2A क्या है? 2A है screen in the Quwat al-Islam Mosque, Delhi, late 12th century. Corbelled 2B क्या बोलता है? Corbelled technique used in the construction of the screen. Temple construction in the early 11th century. The Kandaria Mahadeva temple, the Kandaria Mahadeva temple dedicated to Shiva was constructed in 999 by the king Dhangdeva of the Chandela dynasty. Figure 3B is the plan for the temple. An ornamented gateway led to an entrance and the main hall, Mahamandapa, where dances were performed. The image of the chief deity was kept in the main shrine, Garbhagriha. This was the place for ritual worship where only the king, his immediate family and priests gathered. The Khajuraho complex contained royal temples where commoners were not allowed entry. The temples were decorated with elaborately carved sculptures. तो ये है फिगर 3B इसका क्या बोलते हैं, एक प्लान है, और ये है उसका, ये टेम्पल है, मेन टेम्पल. Figure 4. The Raja Rajeshwara temple at Thanjavur had the tallest shikhar amongst temples of its time. Constructing it was not an easy task. Constructing it was not an easy task. Constructing it was not easy because there were no cranes in those days, and the 90-ton stone for the top of the shikhar was too heavy to lift manually. So the architects built an inclined path to the top of the temple, placed the boulder on rollers and rolled it all the way to the top. The path started more than 4 kilometers away so that it would not be too steep. This was dismantled after the temple was constructed, but the residents of the area remembered the experience of the construction of the temple for a long time. Even now, a village near the temple is called Charupalam, the village of the incline. ये क्वेश्चन दे रखा है दोस्तों, तो आप लोग देख लीजिएगा इसके बारे में. Two technological and stylistic developments are noticeable from the 12th century. One, the weight of the superstructure above the doors and windows was sometimes carried by arches. This architectural form was called arcuate. This architectural form was called arcuate. कंपेयर फिगर 2A एंड 2B विथ, तो देख सकते हैं दोस्तों आप लोग इसको क्या बोलते हैं. देखो, इसको की स्टोन बोलते हैं बीच वाले को. फिगर है अ ट्रू आर्च, द की स्टोन एट द सेंटर ऑफ द आर्च ट्रांसफर द वेट ऑफ द सुपर स्ट्रक्चर टू द बेस ऑफ द आर्च. नंबर 2, limestone cement was increasingly used in construction. This was very high quality cement which when mixed with stone chips hardened into concrete. This made construction of large structures easier and faster. Take a look at the construction site in figure 6. 5B में क्या, अच्छा figure 6 क्या है? A painting from the Akbarnama dated 1590 to 1595 showing the construction of the water gate at the Agra fort. ये ट्रू आर्च या ट्रू आर्क, जो भी आप बोलें. डिटेल फ्रॉम द अलाई दरवाज़ा, अर्ली 14th century, कुवत अल इस्लाम मॉस्क, दिल्ली. Building temples, mosques and tanks. Temples and mosques were beautifully constructed because they were places of worship. They were also meant to demonstrate the power, wealth and devotion of the patron. Take the example of the Raja Rajeshwara temple. An inscription mentions that it was built by the king Raja Deva for the worship of his god Raja Rajeshwaram. Notice how the names of the ruler and the god are very similar. The king took the god's names because it was auspicious and he wanted to appear like a god. Through the rituals of worship in the temple, one god, Raja Deva, honored another, Raja Rajeshwaram, a royal architect. The Mughal emperor Shah Jahan's chronicler declared that the ruler was the architect of the worship workshop of empire and religion. क्या? The ruler was the architect of the workshop of empire and religion. The largest temples were all constructed by kings. The other lesser deities in the temples were gods and goddesses of the allies and subordinates of the ruler. The temple was a miniature model of the world ruled by the king and his allies. As they worshipped their deities together in the royal temples, it seemed as if they brought the just rule of the gods on earth. Muslim sultans and padshahs did not claim to be incarnations of God, but Persian court chronicles described, described the sultan as the shadow of God. An inscription in the Quwat al-Islam mosque explained that God chose Alauddin as king because he had the qualities of Moses and Solomon. The great lawgivers of the past, मतलब Moses and Solomon were the great lawgivers of the past. The greatest lawgiver and architect was God himself. He created the world out of chaos and introduced order and symmetry. Figure 7. Plan of the Jami Masjid built by Shah Jahan in his new capital at Shahjahanabad in 1650 to 1656. ये वाला Qibla, direction towards the Mecca. Qibla is the direction towards the Mecca. As each new dynasty came to power, kings wanted to emphasize their moral right to be rulers. Constructing palaces of worship provided rulers with the chance to proclaim their close relationship with the god, especially important in an age of rapid political change. Rulers also offered patronage to the learned and pious and tried to transform their capitals and cities into great cultural centers that brought fame to their rule and their realm. Importance of water. The Persian terms the Persian terms abad, populated, prosperous, and abadi, flourishing, are both derived from the word ab, meaning water. It was widely believed that the rule of a just king would be an age of plenty when the heavens would not withhold rain. At the same time, making precious water available by constructing tanks and reservoirs was highly praised. Sultan Iltutmish won universal respect for constructing a large reservoir just outside Delhi Kuhna. It was called the Hauz-e-Sultani or the King's Reservoir. Can you find it on map 1 in chapter 3? तो चैप्टर 3 में मैप 1 में आप देखिए इसको कहाँ पे है. रूलर्स ऑफन कंस्ट्रक्टेड टैंक्स एंड रिजर्वॉयर्स बिग एंड स्मॉल फॉर यूज by ordinary people. Sometimes these tanks and reservoirs were part of a temple, mosque. Note the small tank in the Jami Masjid in figure 7, or a Gurdwara, a place of worship and congregation for Sikhs. तो हौज़े दिल्ली एक कुहना ये वाला था. अच्छा, फिगर 7. क्या बोला है देखने फिगर 7 में. स्मॉल टैंक. अच्छा, स्मॉल टैंक इन जामी मस्जिद. स्मॉल टैंक ये वाला शायद से हैं. Why were temples destroyed? Because kings built temples to demonstrate their devotion to God and their power and wealth. It is not surprising that when they attacked another's kingdoms, they often targeted these buildings. In the early 9th century, when the Pandyan king Sri Vallabha invaded Sri Lanka and defeated the king Senavan 831 to 851, the Buddhist monk and chronicler Dhammakitti noted he removed all the valuables. The statue of the Buddha, made entirely of gold in the jewel palace, and the golden images in the various monasteries, all these he seized. The blow to the pride of the Sinhalese ruler had to be avenged, and the next Sinhalese ruler Sena II ordered his general to invade Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. The Buddhist chronicler noted that the expedition made a special effort to find and restore the gold statue of the Buddha. ये वाला, हाँ, फिगर 8, हरमंदर साहिब गोल्डन टेम्पल विथ द होली सरोवर टैंक इन अमृतसर. ये देखें, होली सरोवर एंड टैंक इन अमृतसर, ये वाला. मुगल चार बाग्स. द चार बाग इन हुमायूंस टॉम्ब दिल्ली 1562 to 1571. फिगर 9. टेरेस्ड चाहर बाग एट शालीमार गार्डन्स कश्मीर 1620 and 1634. The Chahar Bagh adapted as a riverfront garden at Lal Mahal Badi 1637. Similarly, in the early 11th century, when the Chola king Rajendra I built a Shiva temple in his capital, he filled it with prized statues seized from defeated rulers. An incomplete list included a sun pedestal from the Chalukyas, a Ganesha statue and several statues of Durga, a Nandi statue from the eastern Chalukyas, an image of Bhairava, a form of Shiva, and Bhairavi from the Kalingas of Odisha, and a Kali statue from the Palas of Bengal. Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni was a contemporary of Rajendra I. During his campaigns in the subcontinent, he also attacked the temples of defeated kings and looted their wealth and idols. Sultan Mahmud was not a very important ruler at that time. But by destroying temples, especially the one at Somnath, he tried to win credit as a great hero of Islam. In the political culture of the Middle Ages, most rulers displayed their political might and military success by attacking and looting the places of worship of defeated rulers. ये क्वेश्चन है दोस्तों, आप लोग कर सकते हैं इसको आंसर देने की कोशिश करें. गार्डन्स, टॉम्ब्स एंड फोर्ट्स. अंडर द मुगल्स आर्किटेक्चर बिकेम more complex. Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, and especially Shah Jahan were personally interested in literature, art, and architecture. In his autobiography, Babur described his interest in planning and laying out formal gardens placed within rectangular walled enclosures and divided into 4 quarters by artificial channels. These gardens were called Chahar Bags, 4 gardens, because of their symmetrical division into quarters. Beginning with Akbar, some of the most beautiful Char Bags were constructed by Jahangir and Shah Jahan in Kashmir, Agra and Delhi. तो आप लोग देख सकते हैं, मैंने दिखा दिया था चार बाग क्या होता है. There were several important architectural innovations during Akbar's reign. कहाँ गया? Akbar's reign, हाँ. For inspiration, Akbar's architects turned to the tombs of his Central Asian ancestor Timur. The central towering dome and the tall gateway Pishtak became important aspects of Mughal. Figure 10. A 1950 painting of Babur supervising workers laying out a char bagh in Kabul. Note how the intersecting channels on the path create the characteristic char bagh design. Intersecting channels देख सकते हैं दोस्तों आप लोग. Intersecting channels. चलो आगे बढ़ो. Figure 11. Tomb of Humayun constructed between 1562 and 1571. Can you guess where the water channels? ये रहा water channels. The throne balcony in the Diwan-e-Am in Delhi, completed in 1648. ये वाला देखो. Pishtak became important aspects of Mughal architecture visible in Humayun's tomb. The tomb was placed in the center of a huge formal char bagh and built in the tradition known as 8 paradises or hushed bihisht. A central hall surrounded by 8 rooms. Hushed bihisht. A central hall surrounded by 8 rooms. The building was constructed with red sandstone edged with white marble. It was during Shah Jahan's reign that the different elements of Mughal architecture were focused together in a grand harmonious synthesis. His reign witnessed a huge amount of construction activity, especially in Agra and Delhi. The ceremonial halls of public and private audience, Diwan-e Khas Oam, were carefully planned, placed within a large courtyard. These courts were also described as Chihil, Sutun, or 40 pillared halls. Shah Jahan's audience halls were specially constructed to resemble a mosque. The pedestal on which his throne was placed and frequently described as the Qibla, the direction faced by Muslims at prayer, since everybody faced in that direction when court was in session. The idea of the king as a representative of God on earth was suggested by these architectural features. The connection between royal justice and the imperial court was emphasized by Shah Jahan in his newly constructed court in the Red Fort at Delhi. Behind at the emperor's throne were a series of pietra dura inlays that depicted the legendary Greek god Orpheus playing the lute. Pietra dura, colored hard stones placed in depressions carved into marble or sandstone, creating beautiful ornate patterns. It was believed that Orpheus' music could calm ferocious beasts until they coexisted together peaceably. The construction of Shah Jahan's audience hall aimed to communicate that the king's justice would treat the high and the low as equals, creating a world where all could live together in harmony. In the early years of his reign, Shah Jahan's capital was at Agra, a city where the nobility had constructed their homes on the banks of the river Yamuna. These were set in the midst of formal gardens constructed in the Charbagh format. The Charbagh garden also had a variation that historians describe as the riverfront garden. In this, the dwelling was not located in the middle of the Charbagh but at its edge, close to the bank of the river. Shah Jahan accepted the riverfront garden in the layout of the Taj Mahal, the grandest architectural accomplishment of his reign. Here, the white marble mausoleum was placed on a terrace by the edge of the river and the garden was to its south. Here, the white marble mausoleum was placed on a terrace by the edge of the river and the garden was to its south. द ताज महल एट आगरा completed in 1643. ये देख सकते हैं दोस्तों, बहुत ही एडमायर्ड, आज बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट टूरिस्ट स्पॉट है ये वाला. शाहजहां कहाँ है भाई? अच्छा, अगले पेज में. Shahjahan developed this architectural form as a means to control the access that nobles had to the river. In the new city of Shahjahanabad that he constructed in Delhi, the imperial palace commanded the riverfront. Only specially favored nobles like his eldest son Dara Shikoh was given access to the river. All others had to construct their homes in the city away from the river Yamuna. तो देख सकते हैं दोस्तों, फिगर 14, a reconstruction from a map of the river front garden city of Agra. Note how the garden palaces of the nobles are placed on both banks of the Yamuna. The Taj Mahal is on the left. Compare the layout of Agra with Shahjahanabad in Delhi. Figure 15. अब फिगर 15 में देखो क्या दे सकता है दोस्तों. फिगर 15, 1850 मैप ऑफ शाहजहानाबाद. वेयर इज द एम्पेरर्स रेसिडेंस. ये आपसे पूछा है दोस्तों, आपको पता लगाना है एम्पेरर्स का रेसिडेंस कहाँ है. द सिटी अपीयर्स टू बी वेरी क्राउडेड, बट डिड यू नोटिस द मेनी लार्ज गार्डन्स एज वेल. कैन यू फाइंड द मेन स्ट्रीट एंड द जामी मस्जिद. तो ये दोस्तों आप लोग देखिएगा, ट्राई कर सकते हैं आप लोग करने का. रीजन एंड एम्पायर. अ कंस्ट्रक्शन activity increased between the 8th and 18th century. There was, as construction activity increased, Between the 8th and 18th centuries, there was also a considerable sharing of ideas across regions. The traditions of one region were adopted by another. In Vijayanagar, for example, the elephant stables of the rulers were strongly influenced by the style of architecture found in the adjoining sultanates of Bijapur and Golconda. In Vrindavan, near Mathura, temples were constructed in architectural styles that were very similar to the Mughal palaces in Fatehpur Sikri. तो ये क्या है दोस्तों? इंटीरियर ऑफ टेम्पल गोविंद देवा इन वृंदावन. Interior of temple of Govind Deva in Vrindavan 1590. The temple was constructed out of red sandstone. Notice the 2 out of 4 intersecting arches that made the high ceiling roof. This style of architecture is from northeast Iran, Khurasan, and was used in Fatehpur Sikri. The creation of large empires that brought different regions under their rule helped in this cross fertilization of artistic forms and architectural styles. Mughal rulers were particularly skilled in adapting regional architectural styles in the construction of their own buildings. In Bengal, for example, the local rulers had developed a roof that was designed to resemble a thatched hut. The Mughals liked this Bangla dome so much that they used it in their architecture. The impact of the other regions was also evident. In Akbar's capital at Fatehpur Sikri, many of the buildings show the influence of the architectural styles of Gujarat and Malwa. Even though the authority of the Mughal rulers waned in the 18th century, their architectural styles developed under their patronage were constantly used and adapted by other rulers whenever they tried to establish their own kingdoms. Figure 17. Decorated pillars and struts holding the extension of the roof in Jodhbai Palace in Fatehpur Sikri. These follow architectural traditions of the Gujarat region. ये वाला दोस्तों. Churches that touched the skies. Elsewhere ये दोस्तों. From the 12th century onwards, attempts began in France to build churches that were taller and lighter than earlier buildings. This architectural style was known as Gothic, was distinguished by high pointed arches. The use of stained glass, often painted with scenes drawn from the Bible, and flying buttresses. Tall spires and bell towers, which were visible from a distance, were added to the church. One of the best known examples of this architectural style is the Church of Notre Dame in Paris, which was constructed through several decades in the 12th and 13th centuries. Look at the illustration and try and identify the bell towers. देख सकते हैं दोस्तों, ये चर्च का पिक्चर दे रखा है. इसी के साथ दोस्तों हमारा ये चैप्टर खत्म होता है और आप लोग का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया इस प्रकार बने रहने के लिए. और आप लोगों से यही निवेदन है दोस्तों, इस तरीके से आप लोग अगर बने रहेंगे तो आपके दिमाग में एनसीईआरटी प्रिंट होने में बहुत ज़्यादा समय नहीं लगने वाला है. आपको बस आपने ऐसे एक बार पहली बार सुन लिया ये रीडिंग, आपको क्या करना है 3-4 बार 5 बार 6 बार जब तक याद ना हो जाए, जब तक पूरा एनसीईआरटी दिमाग में छप ना जाए तब तक रीडिंग सुनते रहें. फास्ट स्पीड पे करके सुने ताकि आपके टाइम की बचत हो. और दोस्तों आपके टाइम की कदर करता हूँ, इसलिए आपके देखिए अभी कितना टाइम हो रहा है, अभी 28 मिनट 58 सेकेंड्स, यानी कि 30 मिनट से पहले मैंने आपका एक चैप्टर ख़त्म करा दिया दोस्तों. तो आपको सोचिए, आप अगर इसको इंटू 2 के अभी आप तो पहले बार 30 मिनट पे ही देखेंगे क्योंकि आप धीरे धीरे सुनना चाहते हैं, और उसके बाद अगर मान लीजिए आपको मन किया तो आप स्पीड बढ़ा के सुनिए तो आपको कम टाइम लगेगा. सोचिए 30 मिनट से कम टाइम के अंदर आपका रीडिंग पूरा हो जा रहा है. लेकिन यही अगर आप बुक लेके बैठते तो आपको और ज़्यादा देर लग सकता है. और कुछ लोगों को हो सकता है, बहुत कम ऐसे लोग होंगे जिनको कि कम टाइम में रीडिंग जल्दी से हो जाएगी और अच्छे से. तो दोस्तों आपको अगर मेरा एफर्ट्स पसंद आ रहा है तो लाइक शेयर और सब्सक्राइब जरूर करें. और इसी प्रकार से मैं आपके लिए रीडिंग वीडियोस लाता रहूँगा और आपके दिमाग में एनसीईआरटी को बसाता रहूँगा दोस्तों. चलिए मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, और मेरे बेस्ट विशेस हमेशा आपके साथ रहते हैं दोस्तों. तो बस मेहनत कीजिए, रीडिंग कीजिए, रीडिंग सुनते जाइए और आप इसी बहाने आपके दिमाग में रीडिंग कम से कम जाएगी तो भाई एनसीईआरटी की। और जहाँ से आपको बढ़िया नोट्स मिले, यूट्यूब के वीडियो से या फिर स्कूल से, जहाँ से भी मिल जाए वहाँ से नोट्स बना के पढ़िए दोस्तों, या ट्यूशन से कहीं से भी पढ़िए और मस्त रहिए दोस्तों। मिलता हूँ आपसे नेक्स्ट वीडियो में। थैंक यू।